Every year, more than 70 million people set out on Catholic pilgrimages across Europe. And in some years, that number even rises beyond 100 million. Think about that for a moment. In an age of airplanes, fast trains, smartphones, in every comfort of modern life, millions still choose to leave behind routine, lace up their shoes, and walk. They walk on ancient paths, they kneel in crowded basilicas, and they cross seas and mountains to reach shrines made sacred centuries ago. Why? The answer is not only about history, or art, or tradition. The answer is about faith, a faith that still has the power to move hearts and lives today. This video is part of a series exploring Catholic pilgrimage sites, sacred destinations. For Catholics around the world, if you enjoy this topic, please remember to like, share, and leave your thoughts in the comments below. Number 10. Maastricht, Netherlands. In the medieval city of Maastricht, faith and history come together in a tradition that few places in Europe can match. Every 7 years, the city hosts the Heiligdomsvaart, the pilgrimage of the relics. Normally, the treasures of Maastricht's churches are hidden away, kept in treasuries, and seldom seen. But when the festival comes, the city becomes something extraordinary. Gilded reliquaries are carried through its narrow streets under canopies and banners. Relics of Saint Servatius, Maastricht's first bishop, are revealed alongside relics of other saints whose lives shaped Christian devotion across Europe. The silence that falls as the relics pass is described as unforgettable. Pilgrims say that the city seems to pause, as though time itself recognizes the sacred. Historical records tell us that since the Middle Ages, emperors and common villagers alike walked side by side in this procession. And today, more than 150,000 pilgrims come, not only from the Netherlands, but from Belgium, Germany, France, and beyond. The Basilica of Saint Servatius opens its treasury to display manuscripts, reliquaries, and liturgical objects that tell the story of Christianity's deep roots in the region. What makes this pilgrimage so powerful is the sense of continuity. For centuries, in times of plague, war, or renewal, this event reminded people that faith endures. Maastricht's relic procession is not just a festival, it is a bridge between the medieval and the modern world, a reminder that what was sacred then still speaks today. And just when you think no other place could equal its solemn beauty. Another shrine in southern Italy tells a story even more mysterious, a story of an archangel who once appeared in a cave. Number 9. Monte Sant'Angelo, Italy. On the rugged slopes of the Gargano Peninsula in southern Italy lies one of Europe's most extraordinary sanctuaries. The shrine of Saint Michael, the Archangel, at Monte Sant'Angelo. Unlike the great Gothic cathedrals that reach for the sky, this pilgrimage site draws the faithful downward into the earth into a cavern where, according to tradition, the Archangel Michael appeared in the late 5th century. Since then, the cave has remained a place of profound devotion and mystery, consecrated not by human hands, but by the presence of heaven itself. The sanctuary quickly became one of the most important centers of Christian pilgrimage in Europe, attracting rulers, popes, crusaders, and saints alike. Historical records show that kings and emperors, including Charlemagne, came here to seek the Archangel's favor, while countless crusaders paused at the grotto before embarking for the Holy Land, convinced that Saint Michael, commander of the heavenly armies, would march with them in battle. The atmosphere of the cave is unlike any other shrine in Europe. Its stone walls glisten with natural moisture, its silence broken only by the murmur of a prayer and the echo of hymns carried through the cavern. Pilgrims describe the sense of stepping outside of time, where the weight of centuries lingers in the still air. Today, more than 1.5 million visitors each year descend into the grotto. Whether to seek healing, to pray for protection, or simply to experience the powerful sense of the sacred that has endured for over 1,500 years, the liturgies celebrated here remain simple, emphasizing humility and reverence, as if to remind worshippers of Psalm 91-11, "For he will command his angels concerning you to guard you in all your ways." Beyond its spiritual significance, the sanctuary is also recognized by UNESCO as a part of the Longobards in Italy, places of power. underscoring its historical and cultural importance in shaping medieval Christianity. From Monte Sangelo pilgrims lift their eyes to the horizon where the Adriatic stretches endlessly, and many speak of a longing to continue their journey. For just across the sea lies another mount, one that rises dramatically from shifting tides, its spires soaring above the waters like a fortress of faith. Could there be a more fitting next step than to witness a sanctuary that seems to rise from the sea itself? Vision as if taken straight from the Book of Revelation. Number 8. Mont Saint-Michel, France. In Normandy, France, Mont Saint-Michel rises like a vision out of the tides. Since the 8th century, this rocky island crowned with a soaring abbey has been one of the most iconic Catholic pilgrimage destinations in Europe. Dedicated like Monte Sant'Angelo to St. Michael the Archangel, Mont Saint-Michel has been called the Jerusalem of the West. In the Middle Ages, pilgrims risked their lives to reach it. They crossed the bay on foot, facing sudden tides, shifting sands, and dangerous currents. Many never made it. But those who did describe the sight of the abbey rising above the waters as miraculous. At its heart stands the Benedictine Abbey, begun in the 10th century and expanded across centuries into one of the greatest medieval architectural achievements. Its Romanesque crypts, Gothic cloisters, and slender spires form a vertical journey of stone that mirrors the pilgrim's ascent toward God. Today, nearly 3 million people visit Mont Saint-Michel every year. The journey still begins at the crossing of the causeway, as pilgrims walk narrow medieval streets, climb steep stairways, and finally emerge on the wind-swept terraces of the abbey. From here, the sea stretches endlessly in every direction, tides rising and falling, as though bowing. Writers have called it a place where heaven and earth meet, where faith stands unshaken against the tides of history. And yet, as awe-inspiring as Mont Saint-Michel is, another place in Europe has become just as famous in our own time, a village where many believe the Virgin Mary still appears, bringing messages of peace and conversion for the world today. Number 7. In Medjugorje, Bosnia and Herzegovina. In the quiet village of Medjugorje, nestled among the hills of Herzegovina, a remarkable story began in June 1981, when 6 young villagers reported apparitions of the Virgin Mary. What started as a small local event quickly drew global attention. And in the decades since, Medjugorje has become one of the most visited Catholic pilgrimage sites in the world. Although the Church has not yet given final approval to the apparitions, the site continues to attract millions of pilgrims each year who testify to the profound spiritual renewal they experience there. On major feast days, more than 100,000 worshippers gather, filling every open field and church with prayer and song. The sanctuary has become famous for its long lines of confessionals, where priests from around the globe hear confessions in more than 40 languages, leading many to call Mugara the confessional of the world. One of the most powerful pilgrim traditions is the ascent of Podbro, the rocky hill where the first visions were reported. Step by step, pilgrims pray the rosary, their voices weaving together as they climb the rugged path that overlooks the village. For many, the journey is more than physical. It is an encounter with grace marked by reconciliation, healing, and a deep sense of peace. Countless testimonies speak of broken families, restored faith rediscovered, and burdens lifted in silence. Before the cross, even amid ongoing debate about the nature of the apparitions, the spiritual fruits of Medjugorje, confession, prayer, conversion, and peace are undeniable, shaping it into a place where millions have found renewal. The words attributed to the Virgin Mary here continue to echo across the world: peace, 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 only peace. Yet, long before Medjugorje, Europe already had a city that became the spiritual capital of Catholic life, a place where a majestic cathedral rose above kings and commoners alike, witnessing centuries of revolutions, coronations, and unbroken prayer. Number 6. Notre Dame, Paris, France. Notre Dame Cathedral is more than a building. For over 8 centuries, it has been the soul of Paris and one of the most beloved symbols of the Catholic faith in Europe. Construction began in 1163 under Bishop Maurice de Sully, and it took nearly 200 years to complete. When pilgrims first entered its soaring nave, they must have felt as if they were walking into heaven itself. Its ribbed vaults, flying buttresses, and stained-glass windows were revolutionary. Turning stone and glass into a living theology, pilgrims came, above all, to venerate its relics. The most famous was the crown of thorns, believed to be the very crown placed on Christ's head during his passion. King Louis IX brought it to Paris in 1239, and from then on, Notre Dame became one of the greatest pilgrimage centers in Europe. Over the centuries, the cathedral witnessed moments that defined nations. Henry VI of England was crowned here in 1431. Te Deums were sung after victories. In 1944, its bells rang to celebrate the liberation of Paris from Nazi occupation. The funeral of General Charles de Gaulle in 1970 filled its nave with both sorrow and pride. Even in times of darkness, Notre Dame endured. During the French Revolution, its statues of kings were decapitated, and the building was desecrated. Yet faith returned, and by the 19th century, Victor Hugo's novel The Hunchback of Notre Dame helped stir a movement to restore it. Architect Eugene Viollet-le-Duc rebuilt its spire, giving the cathedral the form we know today. Then came the fire of April 15, 2019. The world watched in shock as flames devoured the roof and toppled the spire. Yet even as fire raged, the tower stood firm. Firefighters risked their lives to save its treasures, and within hours, pledges of support poured in from across the globe. Notre Dame was wounded but not destroyed. Pilgrims still gather outside its gates, lighting candles, singing hymns, and offering prayers. The square before it has become an open-air sanctuary. When it reopens, planned for December 2025, it will be just in time for the Jubilee year, when millions are expected to return. Notre Dame is not merely the heart of Paris. It is the heart of a people, a living witness to 8 centuries of faith and resilience. Its great rose windows still blaze with sacred light, telling the story of salvation in glass. To stand before Notre Dame is to feel the weight of history, art, and devotion woven together into one living cathedral. But even before Notre Dame's, bells rang over Paris. Another cathedral had already become one of the greatest pilgrimage sites in Europe, a place where a relic of the Virgin Mary and stained glass windows, like no other, continue to inspire awe and devotion. Number 5. Chartres Cathedral, France. Chartres Cathedral stands as one of the greatest Catholic pilgrimage destinations in Europe, a monument where history, faith, and art meet in a harmony that has endured for centuries. Pilgrims have been making their way to the sacred site since the 12th century, drawn by the Sansia. The relic is believed to be the tunic worn by the Virgin Mary during the birth of Christ. This relic alone made Chartres a place of immense spiritual significance in the Middle Ages, drawing countless faithful who believed that Mary's protection extended over all who came to venerate her garment. Nearly 1,000 years later, the cathedral still rises above the French countryside as a living jewel of Gothic architecture. Its twin spires dominate the horizon and announce a holy place long before travelers set foot within its walls. What makes Chartres Cathedral particularly extraordinary are its stained glass windows, most of them dating back to the early 13th century. There are 176 windows in total, covering more than 2,500 square meters of glass, making it one of the largest surviving collections of medieval stained glass in the world. The brilliant blue, often called chartreuse blue, has never been successfully replicated, giving the windows a unique depth that seems to glow with its own light even on the darkest days. Each window is more than decoration. They narrate the story of salvation from Genesis to the New Testament, guiding the faithful through the mysteries of Scripture. For the medieval pilgrim who often could not read these luminous panels were a Bible in color and light, a way to understand the faith through images that carried as much authority as the spoken word. The structure itself reflects the genius of Gothic design, with ribbed vaults and flying buttresses that allowed for soaring ceilings and vast spaces of glass. The labyrinth set into the floor of the nave became another form of devotion, a symbolic pilgrimage for those who could not travel to the Holy Land. Walking its intricate path, believers traced a spiritual journey toward God at the very heart of the cathedral. Chartres also became a center of theology and learning where clerics and scholars debated not only doctrine, but also the tête de relationship between faith and reason, leaving an imprint that reached far beyond France. Each June, thousands of pilgrims walk approximately 72 miles from Paris to Chartres, a journey that takes 3 days of steady marching. Hymns fill the air. The rosary is prayed in unison, and banners of parishes and associations wave above the crowd. This modern procession echoes those of the Middle Ages, when groups from across France and beyond would converge on Chartres with chants, prayers, and offerings. The sight of the high vaults rising like a stone forest toward heaven silences the crowd as if time itself has paused. This silence, recorded in countless pilgrim testimonies, connects them with the gospel verse that describes how Mary kept all these things, pondering them in her heart. Luke 2:19. Chartres remains more than a historical relic. It is a place where centuries of devotion, artistic genius, and human longing are gathered into one sanctuary. From the relic of the Virgin's tunic to the dazzling stained glass, from the medieval labyrinth to the annual pilgrimage from Paris, every element of this cathedral continues to draw the faithful and the curious alike. And while the devotion to Mary at Chartres shaped medieval piety, her presence would later be revealed in another chapter of European history through apparitions in a distant Portuguese field where 3 shepherd children bore witness to visions that would inspire the world. Number 4. Fatima, Portugal. In 1917, during the dark days of war and upheaval, the quiet fields of Fatima became the stage for one of the most important Marian apparitions in history. 3 shepherd children, Lucia, Francisco, and Jacinta, reported seeing the Virgin Mary appear to them 6 times between May and October. Her message was simple, yet powerful: prayer, penance, and devotion to the Rosary. She urged the world to turn back to God and promised that her Immaculate Heart would triumph. On October 13th, tens of thousands gathered for the final apparition. What they witnessed became known as the miracle of the sun. Before their eyes, the sun appeared to dance in the sky, spinning and plunging toward the earth before returning to its place. Believers and skeptics alike reported what they saw, and Fatima quickly became an international center of faith. Today, more than 6 million pilgrims come to Fatima each year. At the very heart of the sanctuary is the Chapel of the Apparitions, built on the exact spot where Mary appeared. Pilgrims often approach it on their knees, offering sacrifices of love and devotion. The immense esplanade before it can hold hundreds of thousands. On the nights of May 13th and October 13th, candlelight processions turn that space into a shimmering ocean of faith. Pilgrims carry candles and sing hymns to the Mother of God. Fatima holds a special place in modern Catholic history. Pope John Paul II credited Our Lady of Fatima with saving his life after an assassination attempt on May 13, 1981, the anniversary of the first apparition. He later visited Fatima in gratitude, placing the bullet that struck him into the crown of Mary's statue. For millions, that gesture became a living sign of trust in her maternal protection. Number 3. Lourdes, France. In 1858, in a small town at the foot of the Pyrenees, a poor 14-year-old girl named Bernadette Soubirous reported seeing the Virgin Mary in a rocky grotto. Over the course of 18 apparitions, Mary revealed herself as the Immaculate Conception and directed Bernadette to a hidden spring. That spring of water soon became the heart of Lourdes. From its humble beginnings, Lourdes grew into one of the greatest pilgrimage destinations in the world. More than 3 million pilgrims come each year. Many are sick, disabled, or burdened by suffering. They come seeking healing, sometimes physical, but always spiritual. The waters of Lourdes continue to flow abundantly, and from them countless bottles are carried away as tokens of faith. More than 70 miraculous cures have been officially recognized by the Church after rigorous medical examination. But beyond these rare physical healings, millions testify to something even more important: inner peace, strength, and renewed faith. One of the most unforgettable experiences in Lourdes is the nightly candlelight procession. October, thousands gather after dusk, candles in hand, rosary on their lips, singing the Ave Maria in dozens of languages. The flickering sea of lights moving across the esplanade is a sight pilgrims never forget. In that moment, people of every nation and language become one family of faith. The sanctuary of Lourdes is also centered on the sick, giving them places of honor during processions and masses. Here the suffering are not hidden away but placed at the center, reminding the world of Christ's words, "Whatever you did for one of the least of these brothers and sisters of mine, you did for me." For many, Lourdes is less about miraculous cures and more about the miracle of hope itself. Number 2. Santiago de Compostela, Spain. Few pilgrimages in the world rival the Camino de Santiago, the Way of St. James. Since the early Middle Ages, pilgrims from across Europe have walked this network of routes that converge at the Cathedral of Santiago de Compostela, where the relics of the Apostle James the Greater are venerated. The Camino is not just a road, it is an experience that transforms those who walk it. Pilgrims endure long stretches of silence, blistered feet, pouring rain, and blazing sun. But they also encounter unexpected joy, the kindness of strangers, the beauty of creation, the laughter of companions who begin as strangers and end as family. For centuries, kings and peasants, saints and sinners have walked this same road, carrying the scallop shell, the symbol of the pilgrim, as a sign of their journey. Today, more than 300,000 pilgrims complete the Camino each year. When they arrive in the great square before the cathedral, weary and footsore, many fall to their knees in tears. Inside, pilgrims embrace the statue of St. James, kneel before his relics, and join the pilgrim's mass. On feast days and special occasions, the botafamero, a massive silver censer weighing more than 100 pounds, swung across the nave, filling the cathedral with clouds of incense. The sight is dramatic, unforgettable, and deeply moving. Number 1. Rome and the Vatican, Italy. Among all pilgrimage destinations in Europe, none compares to Rome. At its center rises St. Peter's Basilica, the largest church in the world, built over the tomb of the Apostle Peter. Here, the fisherman of Galilee, who became the first pope, gave his life and witness to Christ. Millions come each year to kneel at his tomb, to pray beneath the soaring dome designed by Michelangelo, and to walk the marble floor that saints and popes have walked before them. But Rome is far more than St. Peter's. The city itself is a living museum of faith. Pilgrims walk through the Colosseum, where early Christians were martyred. They descend into the catacombs, underground labyrinths where the first believers gathered to celebrate the Eucharist in secret. They visit basilicas dedicated to martyrs and saints, each one a living testimony to the endurance of faith. The Vatican museums hold treasures of beauty and devotion, Raphael's frescoes, the Sistine Chapel ceiling, masterpieces that proclaim the glory of God through art. To stand beneath the Sistine Chapel and gaze at Michelangelo's creation of Adam is to feel the story of Genesis come alive. Rome is also a city of pilgrimage and jubilee years, celebrated every 25 years, when pilgrims pass through the holy doors of the major basilicas to receive a plenary indulgence. In 2025, millions will walk through those doors once again, filling Rome with prayer and celebration. Walking through Rome is to walk in the footsteps of Peter and Paul, the apostles whose blood consecrated the city. It is to share in the memory of martyrs and saints, of generations who carried the faith through persecution, triumph, and renewal. Rome is not just history, it is the beating heart of Catholicism, alive with grace, where heaven and earth meet in a city that has never ceased to be holy. And so, we arrive at the end of our journey through the 10 greatest Catholic pilgrimage destinations in Europe. Each destination holds its own story, but together they form a tapestry of devotion that has shaped Europe for centuries and still moves hearts in our own time. If you had the chance to visit just one of these pilgrimage sites, which would you choose? And why would you walk the Camino de Santiago, descend into the grotto of Monte Sant'Angelo, or kneel in silence beneath the dome of St. Peter's Basilica? Share your thoughts in the comments. I look forward to reading them. Before you leave, don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and tap the notification bell so you'll be the first to join us on future journeys of faith and history. Till next time, may your own path, wherever it leads, always bring you closer to what is true, beautiful, and eternal.